While technical training is really, really important to the success of your summer, within probably a week of you being out in the field, you will have done your pitch so many times that you'll be able to do it in your sleep. It'll be like muscle memory. And the difference between top producing reps and average reps isn't like necessarily technique. In fact, I'll share just a quick story. My second summer, I was selling with a rep that was just blowing up. I mean, just dominating records. And I remember like going to correlation one morning and I was like, Lenny, like, what are you doing, man? Like, tell me what you say. And he gave me his pitch. And I remember thinking as he walked away, what a liar. I say the same thing. And I thought he was like holding out on me, like he didn't want to like share his secrets, right? And what I came to learn was that he was saying the same thing. And that wasn't what was making the difference between the number of accounts he was selling every day and what I was doing. And so the things that we're going to talk about tonight that you get to learn from this panel, hopefully will help you learn those intangibles, the mental part of the game that will help you be successful this summer and maximize this opportunity. So I want to start this off by asking a question because this looks an awful lot like a professional sports news conference. So if this was a team, what team would it be? Like, what are we playing? It's like Warriors.
Baseball.
The Pistons, the Giants, and the Eagles.
I don't know. Doesn't this kind of channeling like like you guys just won the championship? Like, who wants to go first? Like, I don't know. This will be fun. These guys actually all have one championship, so it's appropriate that we'll have this. Let's start with Austin, and let's just do quick introductions and just like who you are, like how long you've been selling, maybe just a little bit. This is your opportunity to sell yourself a little bit. Make sure everyone respects the credibility that you have. There's a reason why you're here, but you get to share that just a little bit. So we'll start with Austin and just look down the thing.
So my name is Austin Tyner. I'm one of the VP of sales at Pointe Marketing. And I've been here since, what year was that? 2015. So a couple of years.
Our second summer in business.
Yep, second summer of business. Met with Gabe over here at Cafe Rio, Provo. That was, and the rest was history. So
Austin's the worst at selling himself. So Austin has sold another summer. He's good at selling everything else and everyone else. But if you ask him to talk about himself, he's too humble. His first summer was with a competitor. He went out, had a great summer. As a first year rep, he sold 200 accounts. Because he was selling for a competitor, they completely robbed him when it came to commissions. And he left a lot of money on the table. And so meeting with him, it was really easy to have a positive conversation about Pointe. And he went from 200 that summer to 500 plus. And what's your best summer ever?
650.
Yeah. So
and then this guy beat it.
So Austin Tyner, multiple for top rep for he and Parker traded places as the top rep multiple times. We'll get there.
Yeah.
Mason.
My name is Mason Bryant. Shouldn't be up here.
Yeah.
I don't have much under my belt. I sold my rookie season last summer. Had a great experience looking to grow. So that's
record breaker. Yeah, record breaker. He set a new record for first year reps, and you should probably share him because I know there's some guys out here that are probably gunning for that first year record. So
513 if you're chasing it.
So it's a CB.
It's a 640 contract.
And that record had stood for like 8 years. So
yeah, that's impressive. And he clearly he belongs at this table.
That's what what in revenue? 325? 325?
I'd rather be, yeah, 320
In revenue. Crazy.
David.
My name's David Williams. I've sold for 6 summers, 3 different companies. My first summer was with the same competitor that Austin sold with, and I sold 120 accounts. And this last summer I did 650.
all-time record.
Yeah, that's he's the GOAT.
He is the GOAT.
He's front center.
He's the GOAT. I'm Parker. I think you all probably know me pretty well. Higher most people in this room. So I don't
think I need much of an intro, but I've been here for, I think it's my 8th year here, so for seventh year, yeah. My best summer is 602, and I had a couple summers over 500, so yeah, it'll be fun tonight. I'm excited to listen to everyone else up here tonight. So
my name is Kayla. This will be my 5th year at Point. And I guess my role here is the corporate female training leader. So I just help the girls level up, and I'll be knocking with girls. That's what I do.
And I would just add, one of the things that I love about Kayla from a sales perspective is that I think every year that I can remember, you've had the highest contract value. Like, Kayla's amazing at creating value on the doors and bringing in the revenue. Lots. And while we have hired her to specifically focus on our female reps, like, every one of us have a lot to learn from her. I wouldn't, if you're not a female rep, she can still teach you a gun. We'll put it that way. Okay, we have a few questions that were submitted, and then we'll also just probably open it up a little bit to you if you have more questions that you want to hear from. The first question that I wanted to start with was, before you ever sold, were you confident that you'd perform well? And if you had doubts, why? Then I would just add to this, the question that was submitted, how did you overcome those doubts? So I know for some of you that was a long time ago. We should have Mason maybe answer this, because these guys, no one else at this table can even remember before they ever sold.
Most of you are still in like high school.
Mason, so before you started, did you have doubts? Were you confident in your performance?
I had a pretty unique experience going into the selling summer last year. I got home from my mission like a year and a half ago. And the month I got home, my brother-in-law Balin, who's my manager, was like, hey, you need to check this out. I've been doing it for a few years. It's a great company. Like, and at this point, all my mission buddies, friends from high school, they were all trying to recruit me. So it took me a little bit of time to figure out where I wanted to be, planted my flag with Point, and was just determined to like just go and sell. So I was working for a company where the owner of that company was just a factory. I was like a mechanic, basically. It was a terrible job, but the owner of that company was my bishop previously, and then in the stake presidency from where I lived. So we had a really good relationship. And I explained to him, I gave him a 4 months notice that I was leaving 4 months, and he was not happy. I grew up on a farm. I was taught to work hard, so I was really hardworking, I guess, person in this assembly line, but I didn't get compensated for that hard work, and it frustrated me a lot that the pay at that company and other jobs that I've worked at was always on seniority. Like, how long have you been there? How long have you been a slave to that company? It just made me so frustrated. So I explained to him this opportunity. He said, you're going to waste time. You're going to call back to us 2 weeks after you go out, and you're going to beg for your job back. So to just make sure to help that we care about you, we want to offer you like a $5 an hour raise right now if you'll stay and not go. And I was like, at that time, like fresh out of high school, 25 an hour. I was like, that's pretty good money. I was like, kind of happy, and I was like, prayed about it a ton, talked to these guys a lot. I'm like, I was like, you will make so much more money if you commit to learning and going out. So I busted my butt in training. I trained a lot, get the knowledge down, set a goal to make 30K in the summer. That was my goal. That would have been more than what I had made in that company. And I was like, I'd probably double actually what I would have made that summer. So I was really confident, like, if I could double my income in that summer, it would be worth it. And then the hard work that I put prepping for the summer, and then the hard work I did in the summer paid off even more than my biggest dreams. It's opened up a lot of doors to me. And I would say, like, any fears? Yes, I was very scared, but the confidence grew as I was confident in myself and the people I was surrounding myself with. So after I grew that confidence, the sky's the limit with potential. So, dream big.
Would you say that as you put in the hard work preseason, like as you were training, did that shift like that confidence at all?
For sure. I mean, you definitely, your first day, you'll just not know what's happening and get really just confused a lot of times about like what's happening, and you just kind of lost a little bit. But sticking back to the basics. Like I didn't do anything different than what the training slides. Like I just memorized them and then did it. Like it wasn't, I would get so frustrated and I talked to Austin a ton in the summer. I'm like, he would listen to my recordings. He's like, why are you like adding so much stuff in here? I was like, so excited to learn about pest control products and like the science behind it and all. And I would explain all this crazy stuff to these people and they wouldn't buy. I'm like, what the heck? Like I'm an expert. When it came down to like sales is like so simple. And the slides, like I just studied the slides so much and like learned the basics of it. And after I did that, I just ran. So
Awesome. Thank you. Does anyone else want to add anything as far as like maybe your just where your confidence comes from, how you overcame doubts to coming back or to do this? I'll say like my attitude going into, I was fresh off my, I definitely never saw myself doing this for 6 years and being the top rep or selling over 600 accounts. And Parker and I went to high school together. We ran in totally different crowds. I'm like really introverted until you like get to know me. So like some of the Delaware guys might like really get to know me this summer, but like Parker was way cooler than me in high school. And I got recruited by a friend and my attitude was just like, I'll give this a shot. I mean, I just served a mission, so I can do anything for 4 months, like even if it sucks. And then like I only sold 120 accounts, but I was the top rookie in my office. I was like, okay, well,
I just want to clarify, just in case you came in late, he was working for a competitor that wasn't with the.
right.
One get it done here.
Yeah, but 120 accounts, but I was the top rookie in my office, so it's just like, well, did good enough to like, let's see what I could do in year 2, and then year 2, like went out with Point and we did 285, so more than double. But yeah, this is something. It's not like either I'm cut out for this or I'm not. Like, don't ever get to a point in the summer where you tell yourself, this isn't for me, because this is something learnable. And like, I would have been okay with a lot less money than I made last summer, but Parker and Austin kind of put in my head like, hey, you should be the top rep this year. That's something I'd never done, never imagined I'd do, and with that expectation, I was able to accomplish a lot more.
Awesome. This is a follow-up question on the confidence from Luke Perkins. He says, what helps you to be bold with customers? How did you develop that boldness?
I think something for me when my second summer was like an emotional roller coaster for me. But I remember like sitting on the curb, this was before we started knocking doors. I was at my apartment sitting on the curb, not in the neighborhood. But I was I had to clarify so I didn't get roasted later on in the conversation. But sitting on the curb talking to Parker, and I was just like, dude, I don't know why I'm having such a weird week. And so something that brings me confidence is like what he said to me was, look at your history. If you're back, like your history says that you sell. So like for first year reps like that, you don't have a history yet. Take confidence in the training that you've had. But then once you get out there and you start selling and like things maybe are rocky, like tell yourself, like my history says that I sell, and therefore I will go out and make that happen today. Like like nobody knows what happened yesterday. So for me, the confidence comes from know your background, know your history, know your track record, because it will happen. And start each day as if nothing happened the next day, because nobody knows what happened yesterday. So that's a big key takeaway that I like, that gives me confidence, because nobody knows what yet the last store was like. Nobody knows what yesterday was. And so, like nobody knows if you had a crappy day. Each door is fresh. So that's where I get my confidence from track record and clean slate at every door.
I think for me, the way I call that is I run my highlight reel and just think of the wins I've had and like pump myself up in the mirror or whatever, like type of thing, or just I write it down, like positive things about myself throughout the day, and then I also write like my family's, my kids and my wife's name all day long, and like things like that to keep me persistent and bold with people. But where it first came from for me, I think where I flipped a switch and went to another level of being bold, especially in pest control sales and in life in general, was I got sold on like kind of what Kayla said, on myself, and then like who I am and what value I can bring to people's lives with pest control products, summer sales, whatever it is, like helping them, you know, in school or investing or whatever, all those different things that I can bring value to someone's life. And then whatever that like company I was selling for, whatever market I was selling in, I wanted to be so confident that these people, if they're going to use pest control, they should use it with me. And so I learned everything I could about the company, about the service, and like got really, really when my like knowledge was low, I tried to increase my confidence, and that would bring up my knowledge. Is kind of how I looked at it, and that increase. If you increase your knowledge, you'll be more confident with people. And so I remember I was driving to Salem, Oregon, and I listened to Sell or Be Sold by Grant Cardone's, and I think it's chapter 4 when he talks about you have to be so sold on yourself, on the product, and the company you're representing, and like that really hit me hard. And I sold way more than I ever had. So that's how I got it and continued. I'm still continuing to build that each day.
Anyone else want to add to that on boldness? Okay, love it. I love this next question, and I'm gonna read it, but I'm also gonna put a little spin on it. It said the question from Garrett Richards: if you had enough money / investments that you could stop working tomorrow, what would be your motivation to get out of bed each day? And the reason I'm gonna put a little bit spin on this is in my opinion, one of the biggest factors to reps not selling more and making more money is they have a personal thermostat that's too low. They paint their end zone at the 50-yard line. And so like the question maybe behind this question is when psychologically you feel like you have enough, right? I made enough money. What is it that when your goal was 30 and you're at 60 and you still have months to sell, what gets you up and still grinding, right? All of you have faced that where you have made everything you were planning on, and then you went on to sometimes double and triple that. So where does that ability to keep grinding when you necessarily don't have to anymore come from?
Yeah, I think for a rookie, like we were actually joking with some of the Delaware guys. They were like, dude, I need summer to come because I'm broke right now. It's like, I felt that way my first year. You will feel that way your first year where it's just like, I have to go, and like, it's kind of a back against the ropes mentality. And I remember when I was in that position, I remember thinking like, when I'm 29 or 30 and I have a bunch of real estate, like I'm gonna take my foot off the gas and start sleeping in longer, and life will be way easy. And I'm 30 now, and like I own, some real estate, and I think if I looked at where I would be now, then I would be like, why are you so hungry still? And so I would say my answer to that question would just be like, as humans, we're built to, I believe we're built to expand and grow, and we're on this earth to progress, and we should always constantly have that on our mind. And that's like the biggest thing that gets me up in the morning now is this you versus you competition that I believe is healthy. And if we can all find that in ourselves, like it can be a really powerful thing. So I think it's that you versus you mentality. It's that, also like a lot of people that do this are competitive naturally. So you might make, you might have made 50 grand in the first 2 months of the summer, but like if you're built like most of us are, like most of these guys are on this panel because they wanted to be elite and do something special, and they raised their thermostat. They may have had a number in their mind, but they painted a new end zone. And I think that elite sellers, they get good at repainting a new end zone and not falling in love with the initial end zone. So, yeah.
I love that. It reminds me, Dallin Tall was the first rep in our company to sell 500. And when there were many summers or many days in that first summer where I would call and congratulate Dallin, and he was like, yeah, it was a great day. Like, what did I end up at? And he had no clue. Like, bro, you sold 7 today. But he wasn't keeping track of his numbers. He was focused on the inputs. Like, I'm gonna work as hard as I can. I'm gonna sell as well as I can. I'm gonna push on every door, and the chips are gonna fall where they're going to fall. And he had that trust in himself and in the process that regardless of, you know, rain or shine, hot or cold, killing it or getting killed, he was gonna do what he could do, and then trust that like the system would pay him. And because he wasn't focused on a specific outcome, he never had that temptation to paint the end zone too soon. But
I want to share one more thought.
Yeah.
Cameron Cheney's not here tonight, but he deserves to be. He's in Rexburg. And I shared this at our banquet, so some of you guys have heard this, but Cam is, in my opinion, he's the hardest worker like that we have. He's unreal, and I hope some people prove me wrong this summer with that. But he's incredible. And one thing, I went and visited their team his rookie summer. He did 400 accounts, which is elite as a rookie. And he would write this symbol on the board every day. I was always like, what is he, when I'd go visit, like, what is Cam doing? So I started asking, like, what is this thing? Why is Cam always drawing this? And it was the infinity sign. And anytime he'd set goals, his rookie year, he'd always say, my goal today is infinity. And the reason why I did that is because he believed in this mindset of like, what if I'm at 5 by 5 o'clock? Like, but my goal was 5. I don't want to like paint the end zone there, right? Like, I just want to chase my inputs. I want to fall in love with sowing and not reaping. And that's why Cam sold 400, is the days where some people would take their foot off the gas pedal at 5 o'clock because they had a bunch of sales. He would just not, he wasn't in love with the number, with the leaderboard. He was in love with just his process and his sowing, you know? So that's a big piece of advice I would give people if they're trying to level up in this job, is fall in love with your process, fall in love with your efforts and your inputs.
Yeah, one of the things I just want to highlight, Parker talked about competition and being driven by competition. And I think one of the reasons why as a culture we love sports is because when you think about the playoff, any playoff season, that's when everyone tunes in, because that's when the magic of sports happen. Like you see human beings elevate their abilities to new levels because of that competition and that will to win. And it reminds me of a summer where Austin and Parker were managing and selling, and it was like getting like deep into September, and they were like back and forth with like,
We just graduated, so we have to go back.
yeah, they both had finished school, so they didn't have, and it was literally like, I finally had to be like, guys, like, I'm calling it, because like, I think they'd still be out there, like, they'd still be like it would have been like to the death, right? Because neither of them were willing to like concede, and they secretly behind, you know, they'd call me and be like, hey, do you want to draw up 35? But to themselves, they'd be like, when are you going? Oh, I don't know. I think a week more, maybe. There was just that competitive drive to keep pushing. And because of that, I mean, they were like brothers. They're super good friends. It's not like it's this cutthroat competition, but they both help each other make a lot of money by being willing to push each other. And so tapping into that will be really, really valuable for you.
A thought on that, because I can see myself sitting in your position going, well, yeah, what does that actually look like when I create a goal? I think it's important to have maybe a at least 2 goals to begin with. Yeah, sure, like a monetary one to keep yourself going. But when money doesn't motivate you, you need to have something beyond yourself. So, like an example, like something that doesn't have a limit, so that you get it, like when the motivation lacks, the discipline is still there. So like for me, that looks like, sure, I have a monetary goal of accounts or like the revenue that I want to sell. But like beyond that, the reason that I keep doing this is because I want to be an instrument, like to be spiritual, like this is a huge means to be an instrument in God's hands for me, so that I can be monetarily ready to like answer his call at any given moment outside of the knocking season. And so like find something, whatever that looks like for you, find something higher than yourself that keeps, like that chases you. Like it's always constantly in the back of your mind going, okay, like if you sit, then you can't accomplish this goal. Because it's beyond you, and it constantly is like running after you, and it's at your heels every day, every night, when like it's almost dark and you have 30 minutes, you could get in your car and pick up your reps, or you could keep going, because that's the kind of like, it just like nips at your heels until the very end. So I think finding like 2 goals, one that is easy to catch, but then also one that like keeps nipping at your heels, because there's no way to satisfy it unless you complete each day giving everything up to it.
I completely agree with everyone that's said stuff today. I don't know if anyone's read the book Atomic Habits. I just recently finished it. It was really good. There's a chapter in there talking about your identity and like your values and how you view yourself and the standards you hold for yourself. And he connects it to like a vegetarian, or like a vegetarian like identifies as a vegetarian and they like refuse to eat meat, right? It's just like a part of who they are. And they could think it's good and like all the stuff, but like if you ask a vegetarian to eat meat, they're just like not gonna do it, right? So in that, like motivation will come and it'll go a lot in the summer. And if you're depending upon yourself to be motivated every single day, like it's just not gonna happen. So I think underlying who you are as a person and creating the value of like now of who you want to be in the summer is gonna depict how you do. For me, I know for myself, it was like, I want to go home having 0 regrets. 0. And I remember there was one day in the summer, I was taking my mid break, getting a snack, like rejuvenating myself real quick. I got on a phone call with some buddies and I think like my mom or something, and it went like 45 minutes. And I like beat myself up for that because like I held myself to like 10-minute breaks. That's it. And I remember that one day, I'm like, I wish I would have had those extra 35 minutes. Like maybe I could have got a couple more cells in there or something. But having the expectation of like working every single day, day in and day out, that's just because that's who you are and that's what you committed yourself to doing. Choosing discipline over motivation is huge. Like, identify yourself as someone who works the hours and puts in the practice and puts in the time, versus I'm going to be try to get super motivated by whatever, because the discipline will carry you along farther than
Anything else? You want to add on?
I think on the question of like, if you could retire right now, like what would keep you going, or like, in Utah County and just in general, like there's a lot of people that actually are really good at selling whatever product, has control, and then they get to a certain point, they stop, and then they like, you see them on Instagram or whatever, like what doing fun stuff, or, you know, not that we don't have fun here at Point, but there are so many people here that you can model yourself after and like surround yourself with people who are going to help you elevate, even when you, quote unquote, made it in a lot of people's eyes. And I think of like the people on Shark Tank, you know, like Mark Cuban, all those guys, like why are they still hustling and investing and building businesses when they're worth billions and billions of dollars? And it's back to that. It's like it's in their DNA. And we were surrounded by Gabe, Chariton, Parker, and all these guys here, and everybody else in the room. Is if you're a first year, like get around the managers, get around the veterans, and like learn from them. And then you veterans and managers like teach and like mentor people. And I think that's a huge reason why for me is like to influence people in a good way, to mentor them and help them level up. That's what Gabe does every day. If you ask, I don't know if you want to give an answer to that, but I think it'd be, you can ask Gabe after for time, but he's changed my life, and you guys can change the lives of people that you work with this summer. Like you really can. So
Yeah, maybe just, I'm not gonna answer that question now, but I will recap that, it is important. I just wanna highlight, money's only motivating when you don't have enough of it. And anyone that's sold before knows that that's true, because there reaches a certain point where there's enough in the bank account that you're gonna get through your next year. And you could be like, I don't care how much you pay me for the next door, I just don't wanna go knock. Like I promise you, like everyone, if you have an experience that like it happens, there's going to be days like that. And there needs to be something else, a bigger why and a higher purpose than just the dollar. For you to be able to go reach your full potential. And it's gonna be different for each of you, but it's way better for you to figure out what that is now. Than when you're sitting in the car going, gosh, I really don't feel like getting out today, it's hot out there. Right, like that's not the time to figure it out. So I love it was touched on in a lot of different ways from different angles, but it all kept coming back to kind of what is your real why? Beyond just the dollar. And if you're not sure what that is, like right now is a really good time to figure that out. Anything else you guys want to add there? Okay, next question. What do the best, so what do you guys do mentally to prepare to knock doors every day? Specifically like routines, habits, readings, affirmations. What are some of the, I know we talked generally about disciplines, but what are some of those routines that help you in the summer?
Meditation is huge for me. Like getting my headspace right every day, really important. Just meditate.
Yeah, first sale of the day is you gotta sell yourself. A sale is a transfer of energy, and if you're in a bad headspace yourself, you're gonna have a really hard time going and selling other people all day. So I love that thought of centering yourself, praying, meditating. I have a rule in the summer all the summers that I did do, I would never let myself wake up past 8 because I just felt like I've lost the day if I do that. I didn't work out every day. It was just this mental thing where I just always rolled out of the bed before 8 o'clock. I had a regional my very first summer that told me that he did that, and it's just something that I always like. It's always been my thing. Yeah, isn't managers
7 though.
Yeah, I haven't good Sundays. That's true. Yeah, it's easy when you're old and go to bed early, but yeah, I do believe like you don't want to roll up to meeting groggy, and managers can tell. Like we have a bunch of managers in this room, and they've managed and managers can tell when a rep's gonna have a good day or not. When someone walks into correlation in the morning, they look like they've been punched in the face. Like it's just a tough game. You got to win it you got to kind of win it spiritually and in your mind before you can go and create it with people on the doors. So
The person that Sir Isaac, I remember his name, but the first guy that climbed Mount Everest. Edmund what? Hillary. He wasn't sure. So he was sitting at a press conference like this and all these reporters and like, how was it? And he said his answer was, it was like the millions of other times I'd already climbed Mount Everest. And they're like, wait, what? That's your first time you've done it? He's like, yeah, in my mind, like I visualized it and saw it happen multiple times before it actually happened. That's paraphrase. He probably said it way more eloquent in British accent, but I think it's a big thing to build off what Kayla said in Parker is like, believe that you can sell every single day and visualize it, like go through like step by step. I actually learned this on my mission. We would visualize who we were going to meet. And there were so many times when miracles happened where we met people that we like visualized to like really, really close. Like there's no coincidences, and you'll have that even selling. So, yeah, so I think if you, where it turned from me of, am I going to sell today? Like, is it going to happen? Like that pit in your stomach that all of us have, to when am I going to sell today? Like, how quickly am I going to sell today? And that came from me, like believing it, visualizing it, and then getting out like as quick as I can and getting on the doors fast and making it happen. Because you create your luck, you create your your story, you create your destiny. And so like each day you have that opportunity. And so my last thought with that is like, a lot of us operate on like, I have to get straight A's. I have to this, I have to get good grades for med school. I have to. And that's like, in the summer is dangerous too. Like I have to sell today. I have to, or I'm not going to eat, or I'm not going to pay for school. You know, that's heavy. And you're putting a rock in your backpack every single time you say like, I have to. So I like to say to myself, I have the privilege, I have the opportunity today to go make doctor money. I get to go make doctor money when I sell, you know, when I blow by 5 and sell 10. Like, you know, I just really breathe belief into myself. And I love when like you transfer that to other people on your team. So my last thought, and I'll let you guys, is like, you know, you've made it when other people are feeling, you feel that same energy. It's the transfer of energy. And it starts with you every single day. So don't get pulled down, but don't pull other people down. Like, don't let that happen. So.
I was a big routine person for my mission. I carried those same habits. I needed to connect with my faith in the morning. I love breakfast food. I need to eat like eggs every morning. I needed to like listen to like a really good pump-up song on the way to the office. Around 5 o'clock, as easy as I could, I needed to like get in the shade, drink my water, eat my granola bar, eat my fruit snack, and like keep going. Like, the routines of like times were like really crucial to me because it became more of a habit than more of like something I was like forced to do, I guess. But like I was so excited for 5 o'clock to like eat my granola bar and like eat the fruit snack that I bought that week. Like I would mix up brands and stuff. I was like so excited to be out. So just like doing like little fun things to like excite yourself and push yourself. But I know the biggest thing for me is like connecting spiritually in the summer was really important for me. It connected me, grounded me, gave me a good motivation to like perspective of like, this job isn't, I'm not doing this for money, but I'm doing this to like become the person I want to be. And through like becoming the person I want to be, the value and the money follows.
We talked about serious stuff, but like keep it light and airy, dude. Like unless you operate on this like you dial in, they go like, I need a car. Most people don't operate like that. Like keep it light and airy. Like in the office, pump music while you're like doing a warm-up game of ball or ping pong. Like keep it fun, because if things are like constantly serious, like it's just not fun at 4 o'clock when it's dead and nobody's at their door and it's hot. Like learn to have fun, because that carries you through like a dry spell, because it's like, no, but like I'm still having a good time. Like it keeps the summer light and airy. Have fun with it. Love having fun.
So I want to hear from David, but before we do, it's one thing to be like, you're gonna knock 10 hours a day and it's gonna be grindy and have fun. Good luck with that. So because Parker also talked about the idea of like loving the process, not just the outcome. So I'd love to hear from you guys a little bit of like, how did you do that? How do you fall in love with the process? Because it can be grindy. But like, how do you learn to love, like we're talking, in all of our offices, we got embrace the grind, right? It's like on all of our stuff, on our stats boards. How do you learn to love or to embrace that grind? Thoughts on that?
For me, like most of us probably played sports growing up, and I played baseball. I love basketball. I love stats. I love numbers. So for me, like, this is my season. And I want to win like every day's a game. I want to go out and perform. I want to win every day. And like I'm obsessed with the numbers, my daily, weekly, monthly goal. I'm obsessed with the leaderboard. I'm always looking at it. And like, yeah, like in a way it's a game, but like this is my season, and this job is a lot more fun when you're good at it. And so be determined to get good at it as soon as you can, because I mean you get a high from making sales. So like I said, Parker and Austin kind of set the expectation. Like if I don't I'm not the number one rep this summer, like
You fail.
I failed. And so I was just upset, like, I didn't work, and like for the routine thing, like. I didn't work out, I pray and read my scriptures in the morning and then like. Drink an energy drink on the way out. And I was also like always looking like, doing the math in my head, like my goal was always. To be mid-30s on the week. So if I did, which is 6 a day, so if I did 4 on a Monday, I'm like, well, crap, now I have to sell 8 tomorrow to be on pace. Or if I sold 10 on a Monday, like, oh, I could blow past 36 this week and keep up that pace. And I was just always thinking about the numbers and obsessed with my weekly and monthly goals because I love seeing my name at the top above Mason and Bryan. And it didn't happen every week, but like most of the time it did. And so like, yeah, I mean, this is my season.
You had an extra month over me. I just gotta put that out there.
Well, you take April out. Yeah, it wasn't about the money and all of this last summer. It was just be number one every week, be number one every month. So yeah.
I do agree. This is like the closest thing to like competitive sports that there is out there. Another thought I had, and I'm kind of digressing, but I wanted to share a thought. Austin brought up that Mount Everest thing, and Gabe actually shared, it was like midsummer. This was like 3-4 years ago. Yeah. Gabe shared a video like midsummer of
It's in my favorites. I haven't seen it actually.
and I started crying watching this video, and then I called Austin and I was like, dude, and if you were in the DC team, you remember I had a couple of days in a row where I was just like emotionally, like I kept crying and things. It was like the weirdest thing. I was like, what is wrong with me, dude? I'm like crying in front of 20 people every day. But I had this moment in my life where I was like, I do that. Like I've done that for 10 years. Like I did it on my mission, and I've done it my first couple years of sales. And I've always tried to put words to like what makes me have success. And that I get in the shower every day and I like just have a quiet moment where I close my eyes, and I do this every day, but I just visualize like, what does my perfect day look like today? And it might be in the summer, it might be now with recruiting, it might be with my family. Like, I mean, I do it on our Hawaii trips. Like when we go on a trip, I'm like, what does my day look like today? How do I fully experience life today? And he shared that, and I just had this thing where I was like, oh my gosh, like that principle is really sacred and important to me in my life. So visualization would be like just another thought on just routines, and another important thing to just try to learn how to do. And another like last thought I would just share is that feeling that you get when you lay in bed at night and know that like you just gave your all as a human that day is a really beautiful thing. And I first felt that on my mission, where we'd get our teeth kicked in Bulgaria. Like no one would look at us, and all I craved after every night was just the effort thing. Like it was just like this feeling that I felt in my heart where I knew that I gave it my all. And that feeling it should become important to you guys as you do this job. You'll get that same feeling doing this job, even on the hard days, like the days where you knew you just freaking hustled your hardest. I believe everything's spiritual, you know, so this job can be just give it your all, and that's you got one life to live. So
real quick to answer, how can something that sucks so bad still be fun? To really quick, I love that part of this, but I think the way I have fun out there, and it was from a first year rep. I picked him up. He had sold 3 and he was hyped. Like I've never seen someone so excited. And he's like, man, who is this? His name's Eric Hagenwiller. He's like, man, I felt like it was like gambling, like Russian roulette. Each door I didn't know I was gonna get. I was so excited to like see what I was gonna get. So you know, so how that was his way of saying that excitement. Like, so every single day you can find things that help you to enjoy it, or you can find things to like not enjoy it. You can choose. Because all of us get cussed out, all of us get yelled at by a Karen or, you know, Greg or whatever. And I laugh, like, I just, like, I laugh at them, like, not in their, I have laughed in their face, I'll confess, but like, I just laugh at people. People are so funny, like, so really connecting with people, a lot of us have certain missions or better, like, just enjoy people, the weirdness of people and the coolness of people. Like, everybody at this table right here isn't here because they love to sell pest control or like love knocking doors and leaving for the summer and giving up boat trips or whatever. It's because they love people and they're in the people business. So I think that's the way you turn this into having fun out there is it's all about the people. So when you do that, when you help other people get what they want, you'll get what you want in life. So that's how I've seen it in like a nutshell. Awesome. Thank you.
Quick answered question really quick from each of you. We'll just start at Austin and work down. This is a pious group, so outside of the scriptures, like most influential book that's helped you with the summer.
Sorry with me.
Sure. With a summer, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was actually texting some, anyways, I can tell you, but Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willing and Dave Fathom. Just owning your life and no excuses. And if there are excuses, like look inside, like why am I so scared of X, Y, or Z? Why am I so scared of knocking behind another rep or there's, you know, competition? Or why am I so scared of knocking in the rain or whatever? Like those little things, when I read that book, it turned me into like this, like a Steph Curry or like a Michael Jordan of like I just owned everything and visualized and just made it happen. So Extreme Ownership, that's a really, really good one.
I just finished that one, it's really good as well. I think for me, in the summer, I actually read Sell or Be Sold like every night when I'd get home. And as for like a first year rep, I didn't have any sort of leadership roles. Extreme Ownership is very leadership based. So I would like for managers and highly recommend them. But as for like selling pest control, like Sell or Be Sold, you will learn how to sell yourself, learn how to sell for a company. It's fantastic. I'd get fired up. I would like say Grant Cardone lines to people. Like this one, I remember I was so bold with someone. He said in the line, like, this customer was like, I'll just wait a little bit. And Grant Cardone told me, he said, you'd be making a mistake if you didn't buy this today. I was like, I would never say that. And the next day I'm like, I'm gonna try it. So I was like, hey, like this promotion's like going really quick. Like if you don't buy it, I know the neighbors probably will, like you'd be making a mistake if you didn't get it. He's like, yeah, you're right. There's just selling is really cool. It's a science, it's a people business. You really get to connect with people and trust with them. So it's oversold.
Love it.
I can't think of a book that's had like, sadly, I can't think of a book that's like changed my life or sales career. Door to Door Millionaire is a great place to start. Like I live by that book. And Grant Cardone, like 10X, any Grant Cardone book, but like especially the audio book because he reads them and yeah, he's awesome. Like his energy, he's really fun to listen to. But 10X gets you thinking really big. Yeah.
I love all those books. I'm kind of more of I love the like self-help books, kind of rah-rah stuff, but I also, I get obsessed. I think that's the right word about like investment stuff. And so Rich Dad Poor Dad is an amazing book. I believe like the bigger the why, the easier the how. We talk about that a lot here. And if you have a really clear why going into the summer as to like why you're doing what you're doing, then the how, like then the process, the question about the process, like then it becomes fun because it's like, this is a vehicle to help fund that why. And so I got really clear when I started selling more, I honestly just got more clear on like why I was doing this in the first place. And I've never had the issue of like, that's like, the earning thermostat thing for me, once I started reading the right books, it kind of went away because I just started thinking more in terms of like every extra couple $100 that I make could turn into that much residually, which changes my family's life forever. So I've never had this issue of like, you know, I wouldn't like to knock that extra door for $300-400. Like it's always been, if I go sell that door for $300-400 and then invest it, and that pays me passive for the rest of my life, like that's worth knocking the extra door. So
It's worth going for the 8 summer, 6 summer.
yeah, it's worth staying in the grind. But so yeah, I would say like read the stuff that I love Grant Cardone as well, but also get clear on like why you're doing it, investments, things like that, that might help look at it from a different angle. That's kind of more how my mind works. So
If you're gonna read Rich Dad, you should read his second cash flow quadrant too. They kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah.
And they will give you that clarity also.
I have 2 books. The first one, is The Happiness Advantage. It's one that Parker showed me. I was having a really hard summer. And midway through, I was like, way off my goals, way off. And it was just like this constant cycle, of trying to get back into this, like, okay, just because I'm behind doesn't mean I can't find happiness. So I was just in this like endless rut of not being happy. Anyway, The Happiness Advantage, super good for helping you like see that it's not the benchmark where we find happiness, it's the journey and finding small, good happiness wins. So that when you reach that benchmark, there's something to be proud of, but you haven't experienced happiness just at the check mark. It's all the way through the check mark. That was a really good one for that summer. Last summer, I read the book Mindset by Carl Dweck. It's about fixed and growth mindsets. Especially like when you get into a rut, sometimes it's like, wow, I'm just like, this is just what it's gonna be. This could be in relationships, schooling, work, knocking, like any aspect of your life. The moment it becomes fixed, like you become, like it becomes flatline. So this helps with like growth mindset, that it is possible to grow and learn and adapt to learning new things, and therefore growth happens. So mindset, happiness advantage.
Awesome. Maybe just to wrap this up, I would love to hear from you on your takeaways. What stood out to you tonight? What have you learned? Please.
I was reviewing the first slides and there's a video of Austin selling at the very end. A guy named Verlin,
Oh, yeah.
really nice guy.
Check
And-
series, right?
It was kind of funny because I've seen Austin do trainings here and he's very casual energy, very straightforward, very into it. And I was thinking, okay, maybe it's just the role play, maybe he's just being like calm, but that's how he is on the door. Like he's who he is regardless of showing it in person or in a role play. So I really appreciated that example of just figuring out your style and then letting that become you. And then as you identify with that, as you identify with the company, as you identify with the service, you won't need to just justify your goals and your dreams or your ambitions. You'll just be.
You. Yeah, I love that. Thank you for sharing that. What else? Please.
Yeah, I think for me, like going into my first summer, it's really hard to visualize like a future where I'm like investing, like in properties and like really slinging, like doing well. So I think the point that really struck with me is like finding a bigger why. Like why you're getting out there every day, why you're like trying to discipline yourself, like the type of person you want to be. And I don't remember who said it, but someone was like, hey, like I show up every day because like you know the person you want to be, like you have goals set, you have these skills you want to develop, and like this is what you need to get there. So kind of finding that deeper purpose is something that I really enjoyed.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. What else? Please.
I think something for me is just visualizing success now, not like in the summer. Because for me, like I've done that before, like in other aspects of my life where I know like that works, like especially like in athletics. And so like I know like the power that has. So that's something I haven't really been doing yet. And so I want to start like tonight, like visualizing how my summer is gonna look at me.
I love that. Perfect. Rich.
to take responsibility, don't set goals for everything. Because no matter how good my goal is, when I do meet that, like once I meet it, I'm done, right? I get all the practice. So setting a goal up,
I love it.
I love the idea of like each day is an opportunity rather than like you have to go out and sell. And I think some of my most successful days and summers have been centered around that principle of like, man, I am blessed to have found a company that's going to let me go make, a couple hundred to a couple $1,000s a day. And I get to do this for 100 days, and it's, a really short time period, but I'm able to make what most people make an entire year rather than, I have to go out each day and knock because that's what my manager expects from me.
That's a powerful mindset shift. I love you sharing that. Byron.
I really liked some of the little things that were said, like, Mason was giving the example of like some of the little like daily non-negotiable that he's making, like I only take 10-minute breaks. And then one day I made a 45-minute call, like, and I was frustrated about that. And then David said, he said, if I sell 6 or 10 on a Monday, then I can get 36. Instead of like, in my mind, it was naturally thinking like, oh, I could sell 4 the next day, but just the little things in their mind that they say, it's just like how they identify as a person. Like they're just always thinking of bigger and better.
Yes. Thank you.
A big day doesn't mean anything if it's a bad day the next day.
Yeah, that's true.
Sleep on a win, you wake up with a loss. I love that quote. I've been waiting to share that quote.
Even for 45 minutes.
There it is.
I got it.
One of the things I heard tonight was to remember your identity, your background, because it like helped remind me that success really isn't a goal, but it's more like a state of being. And so that's what I got out of it.
I love that. I want to add to that just really quick because, we try to be really, really transparent. In fact, overly transparent when we build our teams, when we talk about who wins here, about what kind of work ethic you need to bring to the table, what kind of mental toughness, what kind of people skills, what it really requires to win here. And some of you might think that you have a really good work ethic, and then you're going to get out there in the summer and see what real work ethic looks like. And you have an opportunity that you're all young enough still that you can change that identity into something even better. So regardless of wherever that identity is at today, I hope that by the end of the summer, you will identify as like, I am a grinder. Like I can do really, really hard things. I am mentally tough. And I'm great with people. I'm very persuasive. Those need to become part of your identity. And wherever it's at today, I promise you on August 31st, it's going to be way better if you'll commit to this process and the principles that these guys have taught today. With that, let's give these guys a hand and thank you so much for being here.